What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our season preview for the Detroit Lions. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, before we get into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video as it will help us out tremendously. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. All right, Nick, with the 2022 NFL season fast approaching, yet another season preview to get to. Today, we're going to be talking about the vastly improved Detroit Lions. The Lions going through quite the makeover from the roster that they fielded last year. They showed that they had what it took to finally break through and get some wins toward the end of the last year. They still ended up with the second overall pick, but that allowed them to get some of their key additions, and that included Aidan Hutchinson, the massive edge rusher from the University of Michigan, the hometown boy coming back to play for the Lions. On top of that, they drafted Jameson Williams, and they were able to get key free agents that included DJ Chark from the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is an overhauled and reloaded Detroit Lions team, a team that is expected to win a lot more games that they did last year. And when you take a look at some of the key losses outside of Trey Flowers, not any notable names, which is a massive thing for this Detroit Lions team. They are retaining talent left and right. They are keeping the players that they want. They're getting rid of the baggage that did not work for them. They are getting new names, new faces, and working on improving this team. This is one hell of a job that this new regime under Dan Campbell has been able to get done, and I'm really excited to take a look at their schedule for the record predictions. So, Nick, take us through the first 6 weeks. What does it look like for the Detroit Lions?
Well, the Lions have made some great improvements this offseason, but when we go into the regular season, they're going to be tested. And when we look at the first 6 weeks of the season, we have them going 1-4 with a bye week in week 6. And that only win comes against the Washington Commanders in week 2. Starting off in week 1, you have a much improved Philadelphia Eagles team that is much better than the Detroit Lions as it stands. And with that Eagles offense being the number one rush offense from last season, improving the pass game with A.J. Brown, it should be a very lopsided victory for the Eagles in week 1. The Lions' improvements are just not going to be enough, especially since the top two are rookie players. But then week 2, getting that victory over the Commanders, a very tough defense led by Chase Young. It's going to be a very big victory for the Detroit Lions to prove that they can get past some of the teams in the NFL. But that's only some, because then when we go into weeks 3 through 5, the Vikings, the Seahawks, and the Patriots, it does not get any better. They have 3 straight losses. The Vikings making big improvements this offseason. The Seattle Seahawks, yes, they've made some big improvements themselves, but just not at the quarterback position. And at the end of the day, it's not going to matter because this rush game for the Seahawks will be able to help out. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are still very big weapons that have to be contained, and Drew Lock has a very big arm that can go off at any time. And then week 5, you got the New England Patriots making a lot of strides themselves this offseason, getting younger, and Mac Jones looking better than ever. It's going to be very tough to get past Bill Belichick and Mac Jones, and it's just going to get harder as the season goes on. We see the Detroit Lions here at 1-4 to start the year.
Yeah, the Matt Patricia revenge game definitely going the way of the Patriots, but taking a look at the next 6 weeks, we don't see much more improvement. But when you take a look at the teams that they're facing, the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins, the Green Bay Packers, the Buffalo Bills, these are teams we fully expect to not only be in the playoffs, but to be competing for a Super Bowl title. So it's no wonder that the Detroit Lions are falling to what looks like the same record as the Chicago Bears at this point of the season. But in week 10, they get the victory over the Chicago Bears. They prove their dominance within their division. They show that they can compete with that team. And when you take a look, 2-9 is not what they expected, especially with this roster overhaul. But when you have such a young team, when you have a guy like Dan Campbell who is building from the ground up, he started with literally nothing. He is building foundation. He's getting these guys worked and ready to go. Going against these top tier teams are the ones who going against these top tier teams is going to sharpen this team so that they can compete for years to come. I fully expect the Detroit Lions to learn and grow from these experiences. And hopefully, Nick, you can let us know in the next 6 weeks, Does it get better for the Detroit Lions?
In fact, it does. Going into the last 6 weeks of the season, we had the Lions going 3-3 to end the year 5-12. And looking at those 3 victories, the Jaguars in week 13, a team that has improved a lot this offseason, and going into the regular season, we see the Jacksonville Jaguars using those new weapons like Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. They're going to be very explosive players, but the Lions at this point in the season, they're finding their groove. They're getting things going, and we see here in week 13. Weeks 14 and 15, you've got the Vikings, much improved, getting the sweep on the season over the Lions. In week 15, the New York Jets made some massive improvements this offseason themselves, and it shows here in week 15, showing that they are still better than the Detroit Lions with a lot to prove still. But then in week 16 and 17, taking on the Panthers and Bears respectively, getting 2 key victories here to show that they may not be making the playoffs this year, but they're making strides in the right direction. And Dan Campbell's philosophy, it's aggressive, but it's working, and they're getting on the right track, playing better in this 6-week span than they have all season long, and ending the year 5-12. Not exactly what they wanted. Not much of an improvement over last year, but it looks like things are starting to turn around, and with such a young team, you've got to be optimistic as a Lions fan, hoping that the next offseason will bring on even more big names than it did the offseason prior, and they're going to continue to build off of what they have right now and getting better year over year. There is a lot to hold your hat on. It won't be this season. It probably won't be the season after. But this is such a young team, and they are only a few big weapons away from being a competing team.
Absolutely. The Detroit Lions are clearly one of those teams that we can all get behind, because we have seen that they have built this team from the ground up with this new regime. I can't say it more. Jameson Williams and this entire offense run through Jared Goff is going to be one hell of a dynamic presence on the football field. When you add DeAndre Swift and what his capabilities are, the improving offensive line, some of the things that they've been able to do on the defensive end, obviously Aidan Hutchinson. We have Amani Oruwariye really stepping up. We also have Jeff Okudah finally getting healthy. These are players that are going to be key contributors for many years to come for the Detroit Lions. I fully expect them to be ingrained in this team and in this culture. The Detroit Lions are here to stay, and this is just the beginning point for what they have to come. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.